I mean,
My
we said this from the beginning. What place they're not carrying? I don't know how they carry 8 wide receivers. They weren't going to carry 9. Boy, that Richie James, that was, you know what? Every time I mention the Brett Veach offseason wide receiver plan, I do forget that part of like what we were discussing as a show, and certainly people were discussing, is that Richie James could be a 700-yard receiver for this team. That didn't come anywhere close.
He got hurt. And at this point,
but he wasn't playing before he got hurt.
He wasn't.
Him getting hurt definitely factors in, but he wasn't playing.
If he wasn't playing, though, how long people would have been saying that he should be given more opportunities, though, right? Because nobody else has really stepped up.
Probably. I mean, at this point, I feel like Tony deserves more opportunities. He hasn't performed either, but he's not getting anywhere near the number of snaps as some of the other wide receivers who aren't performing.
I mean, if Richie James gets traded, what are we talking about? Like a 7th-round pick swap, a conditional 6th. I mean, that's what we're talking about
If
here.
you can get that, then great. I mean, any pick right now for Richie James seems fine. If there's a team willing to take on a wide receiver, then take him on. The other part about this that always interests me is like he's the odd man out. It's like, are the Chiefs really going to go for a wide receiver when they're already just handing out guys who they handed contracts to in the offseason? I'm not saying they handed out some huge deal for Richie James. When they paid him money and he was coming off a near 600-yard season, they had plans for some level of production.
No doubt. But it was $1 million.
No, I know. But I'm just curious.
Bucks. And I obviously thought he was going to have a bigger impact. People will really freak out if he gets traded and somehow does have an impact somewhere else. That's always the one where everybody, second guesses everything.
This is the other part. It's like you said, if he was healthy, they'd be asking for. Are we sure we don't want to give Richie James a look, considering the way other wide receivers are performing?
They clearly don't think so.
Are you sure that this is the wide receiver you want to let go? Because I'll be honest, I'm not seeing enough production out of any wide receiver not named Rashee Rice to not at least take a look at what Richie James might offer my team. Maybe just a 1-week inactive for like Justin Ross, or a pretend fake twisted ankle for somebody else from getting 20 Richie James snaps just to see.
I mean, Justin Ross with the commissioner's exempt list, there's a good chance he's not ever active again this year. So all of a sudden, Richie James out, Justin Ross theoretically could be out.
But like, can McColl just have an injury for 1 week and I can just get a look at Richie James?
I mean, I don't want McColl to get hurt.
No, I pretend hurt. That's what I meant.
Come on now.
My legs are tired. That kind of thing.
If they do make a trade for a wide receiver, would you rather it be a 1 year and done, or would you rather it be, we're going for somebody, we're going to sign him, the plan is to look to the future, and Chris Jones probably is gone at that rate? Because if you're going to pay a guy like Mike Evans money, or whatever the case may be, if you land a guy.
I just don't think someone like Mike Evans is available, guys. Like, do we? I mean, the Bucs have lost 2 in a row.
Let's say Terry McLaurin.
Well, if he's available, yes.
If he's available, that's somebody who you trade for and you pay him, and you know that, okay, Chris Jones probably isn't getting the money.
The thing with McLaurin is he's got just like 2 years left on his deal. I just play it out. He'll be 30 at the end of it. They already gave him a little restructured deal. I just play it out at this point. I don't even know if I have to give McLaurin a brand new deal. You know what I mean? Like, that's the beautiful thing on that one. I just don't think, but that's also why I don't think the Commanders are trading him, because he's
right now the Chiefs have a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 2 5ths, a 6th and a 7th. Well, some of these are unknown because it might be like they have 5 slated, but the comp picks and all this other stuff that go in there. And
Tell me the comp pick formula, Cody.
Well, they just gave up picks, right, to bring in McColl. Mm-hmm. Look, the truth is they got 5 or 6 picks right now, including that stuff. I'd be willing to have 4 picks next year if it meant a player of Terry McLaurin's status was in here. That's the one thing that interests me about the trade gold. Not that I think it's going to happen, because if right now you ask me, do they trade for a wide receiver in what? We got like almost exactly 24 hours away. In 24 hours, do I think the Chiefs are going to make a move? My guess is no, that they're not going to bring it in.
Yeah,
but I've gotten way further down the wide receiver list that I would be interested in, because they almost all seem like an upgrade now.
Yeah, I think that is probably the majority opinion right now. I think most in Kansas City want them to go and trade for a wide receiver. I'm not against it. I just don't know if it's as simple as we make it out to be in a variety of ways. As just trade the guy, plug him in, instantly better. And don't give me this, let's be realistic. I know we all get hyperbolic, like, well, anybody would be better. Let's calm down for a second. That's not always the case.
No, just a lot more looking at upgrades than I thought before the season.
Financially, I'm not sure how realistic it is. Draft capital-wise, I don't know how much they're willing to mortgage the future, although I don't have as much of an issue like you trading away draft capital. And who's available? That's the part that we probably make.
It's tougher to answer.
I think we probably are overblowing at times the availability of certain players. Like, yeah, I would trade for McLaurin if he was available. I would, someone earlier today said The Chiefs should call the Vikings about Jordan Addison. Yeah, they're going to trade their 21st overall pick from this year that's having a great rookie season. You know what I mean? Like, we got to be
cool
realistic.
if they're interested.
Yeah, but let's be
not.
realistic.
Yeah.
Realistic names? Maybe a Hollywood Brown.
I'm dead serious.
Maybe
You might have
an
a better
Adam
chance of getting
Thielen.
Justin Jefferson than Jordan Addison right now.
You know, maybe a
first year of a
Jerry,
rookie contract.
maybe a Jerry Jr. Like those at least are realistic names. I still don't think they land them. I think that's the problem I have with the trade talks.
Do you think it's funny that everyone is clamoring for the Chiefs to trade for a wide receiver and instead they're trading them away? Like,
maybe
we need
trading a
less.
guy that has played in 2 games away. Yeah, I would still give him more of an opportunity. If they're not going to trade for anybody else, I'd actually want him still at least part of the picture. But they obviously either have something else planned, Cody, where they're trying to free up a roster spot.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the case if you're trying to be optimistic about it.
I wonder. See, that's the reason I asked the question I did, is because if you look at just in terms of knowing the track record of the Chiefs and drafting wide receivers, do you trust them evaluating a wide receiver to pick them in the first round and have them be better for Patrick Mahomes than trading that pick and maybe you trade a first and a third and you go and say, hey, Tampa Bay, we're giving you we want Mike Evans for a first-round pick and a third-round pick. I mean, is that worth it,
That's too
or
much.
are you banking on them picking the right guy for the offense in round 1?
I think people want
First and a third is too much for Mike Evans, knowing that you also have to give him a contract extension probably to make that happen.
I think a lot of people want to say like Brett Veach can't draft skill position players or can't identify him because you traded for Kadarius Toney, it's not working. You drafted Sky Moore, it's not working. He signed Richie James, it didn't work. Right, whatever. I mean, but Rashee Rice is working. Some of this is you have to remember that the draft is still a numbers game and that you're not designed to hit at the rate he's been hitting at the other positions. So it makes the skill position guys look even worse. It just does. Makes those moves look worse. But he's tried like Juju Smith-Schuster wasn't a superstar, but that was a good free agent signing. Brought him in, correctly identified how they'd fit in the offense, and they won the damn Super Bowl. So I'm not so down on Veach Gold that I don't think he can't draft a wide receiver. I've told you, the thing I desperately want at wide receiver is for them to just own up one of these days and do the Julio Jones trade and trade away trade away next year's first round pick, put it all on the line, get up to 10 and really take a dude. Because I get tired of let's take the 5'11" second round wide. I get tired of that. That's the system I don't want to live in anymore.
I think the question with that is, we say that, do you trust them if you're concerned of how they're evaluating the second round guys? Do you trust them to pick the right one in the first round? You know what I mean? That's
what I'm saying.
They
got Rashee Rice, right? I mean, yes. I don't know. It's a numbers game. Yes.
Yeah.
It's easier to get it right at 10, by the way. It's way easier to get wide receiver right at 10.
Yeah,
than it is
a lot
at
of it
52.
requires them to mortgage the future on the draft capital because they typically are picking 28 to 32. And they've done that for 5 straight years, 28 to 32. They traded up to get Trent McDuffie, so it's not like they're never willing to trade up. That was the thing for a while. That was for a
correct
corner.
decision.
This year trading up possibilities. I mentioned Addison went 21 or 22. That was not. It sounded like they wanted to trade down. Remember on draft night, if anything, not trade up, and everybody thought they needed a tackle. The only thing to keep in mind, as much as you're saying it's okay to give away draft picks this year, we probably recognize they're going to have to spend a pretty high pick on another left tackle, and maybe a defensive lineman, depending on what happens with Chris Jones. I mean, this is not the
one
year.
of those positions they're going to throw cash at. Based on the way the cash looks right now, they can solve 2 of their problems with money: wide receiver, left tackle, and defensive lineman. They can solve 2 of those with contracts. Based on where they're currently set up cap-wise next season and the offseason. They can't solve all 3, so yeah, Gold. The first-round pick plan would be that third position. But if you trade a year from now, right, we're talking 2025's first, to go up and get the dude at any of those positions, honestly, if the guy you wanted at left tackle was at 10, I like the power move of getting the guy you're damn sure about is going to play for you and start day 1. Just get in there and work. Like, I don't want
the question
next year, I don't
will be,
want Felix Anudike-Uzomah taking a redshirt year.
I think this is probably the concern from Chiefs fans. I think you referenced what they did a couple years ago when things went south in the Super Bowl. They attacked it. They were aggressive on the O-line. Unfortunately, and look, you hope they're proactive, right? But is it going to take a catastrophic failure in the playoffs and everybody being able to clearly blame it on the wide receivers for this front office to say, okay, we're going to have that never happen again kind of attitude like they do at the O-line? Like, I'm just talking this out because I'm trying to think. As of right now, I don't believe that they would be super aggressive to do that. But would it take an AFC title game loss where we were all like, it was clearly the wide receivers? Would it take a divisional round loss where, like, wow, it was clearly the wide receivers for them to say never again?
It would have to cost them the season.
That's exactly. So
That's why he didn't be over aggressive with wide receiver last year.
yeah.
Didn't cost him anything.
Well,
they won the Super Bowl.
And so that's where it's like the balance of as much as their decisions with the wide receivers in the offseason are costing them right this second. I still disagree with the notion that their quote unquote cheap plan at wide receiver the last 2 years has backfired. They won a Super Bowl last year, so don't give me the crap that it's backfired for 2 years.